After recently receiving an offer from MVP to join the Hurt Syndicate, MJF recently admitted that he may need a click of his own to remove the AEW World Championship from the grip of Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. Now, if he doesn't join the Hurt Syndicate, could MJF be teasing that a new faction is coming to All Elite Wrestling led by the former AEW World Champion? If indeed that's the case, here are some stars who could be joining up with Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of stories to get into, and in this countdown video, we're going to be talking about some names in AEW who could be set to join up with MJF in an impending new faction set to debut on AEW Dynamite imminently. Now, as I mentioned in the intro for this one, a couple of weeks ago on AEW Dynamite, at the time recording this video, MJF was in the ring, fresh off his defeat against Hangman Adam Page at AEW Revolution, when he was interrupted by MVP. Now, MVP earlier on in the evening had said to Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley, the Hurt Syndicate, the AEW World Tag Team Champions, to take the night off. He was going to handle some business by himself. The business in question was reuniting with MJF, who he does have history with from MJF's time on the independent scene, and he offered MJF a possibility of joining the Hurt Syndicate, giving him his business card. Now, initially MJF said no, but once MVP reminded him that he was no longer the AEW World Champion and hadn't been for a while, maybe he should reconsider his offer. This led to a week later on AEW Dynamite, MJF admitting that maybe he may need a clique of his own, a faction if you will, to take the AEW World Championship from the hands of Jon Moxley, who of course is now flanked by the Death Riders. So that's led to a lot of speculation, a lot of possibility who could be set to join up with MJF. It wouldn't be the first faction. He has led in AEW history. Of course, he did helm the short-lived faction, the Pinnacle, in AEW. That was mainly to feud with Chris Jericho's Inner Circle, wasn't it, at the time? But MJF, he's not, I guess, completely not having any history with a faction. So what could a new faction look like? Who could possibly join the former AEW World Champion? Let's get into the names here, beginning with Max Caster. Now, this one is quite interesting when you consider a bit of a transformation that Max Caster has undergone recently. Now, this is quite interesting because since splitting from Anthony Bowens and Billy Gunn of the Acclaimed, we've seen Max Caster turn heel. He's dubbed himself the best wrestler alive. He's done all of these open challenges on Dynamite and Collision to no success whatsoever. Maybe he needs to return to his previous fascination with MJF to turn things around, because of course previously, and this actually happened in the summer of 2023, whilst MJF was the AEW World Champion, there was a storyline where Max Caster was completely infatuated with MJF. It was something actually that played out initially on social media, then did eventually make its way to AEW television. It was when Max Caster was, constantly talking about being friends with MJF and doing some innuendos on social media about them too as well, kind of intimating or hinting that he might actually be attracted to MJF. It was a whole thing. If you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. But it did lead to MJF walking around backstage on an edition of Dynamite for Collision, I forget which episode it was, where basically because of what he had done in the past, he had no friends, he had no allies, and eventually he did team up with the Acclaimed at the time, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. As I mentioned, since then, Bowens, Caster, Billy Gunn, they've all split up. The Acclaimed is no more. But is MJF the person to get Max Caster out of this rut and to actually turn Max Caster into the best wrestler alive, what he thinks he is? Certainly, he could be an addition, and he does have history with MJF, so frankly, it would make a little bit of sense at the very least. What about Sammy Guevara? Someone that's got obviously so much history when it comes to factions in AEW. Of course, the first ever real faction in AEW was the Elite, but the first one that was made on AEW television was the Inner Circle. The first episode of AEW Dynamite, we saw the formation of the Inner Circle, which was Chris Jericho's faction, Jake Hager, Santana Ortiz, and Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara was a big part of Chris Jericho's Inner Circle faction, which feuded with the Pinnacle, MJF's former faction, but also he then became a member of the Jericho Appreciation Society as well. Now, when it comes to his history with MJF, Sammy Guevara, well, he's considered one of the pillars of AEW, isn't there? There's the four pillars of AEW, certainly in the men's division. They even clashed at Double or Nothing back in 2023. It's MJF, it's Darby Allin, it's Sammy Guevara, it's Jack Perry. Could we see a situation here where Sammy Guevara aligns with a fellow pillar of All Elite Wrestling in MJF? Sammy Guevara is looking to kind of revitalize and revive his career in AEW. Certainly over the last couple of years, injuries and backstage issues, politics, questions of heat, attitude, incidents in the ring, what have you, have kind of derailed Sammy Guevara's tenure in All Elite Wrestling, and he's really looking to reignite his career. I mean, he's mainly been competing in Ring of Honor with Dustin Rhodes as the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, but MJF recruiting Guevara and having him actually maybe turn on the natural could be a way to re-spark Sammy Guevara's career in All Elite Wrestling, and it would be a situation where, again, one of the pillars, or two of the pillars rather, would be joining forces for the greater good to get back on top in AEW. And when it comes to possibly feuding with the Death Riders, who are looking to take hostage and take over, take control of AEW, would it be a situation where the pillars have to come together, put their issues to one side, join forces, and that would allow them to take down Jon Moxley and his faction? Certainly a possibility. Now, speaking of the pillars of AEW, one of those pillars, as I mentioned, was Jack Perry. Now, this is an interesting one because Perry, again, himself is no stranger to factions in All Elite Wrestling. He was a part of Jurassic Express with Killswitch, Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt. That kind of then morphed into being involved with Christian Cage and Luchasaurus before Cage turned on Jack Perry. Then, of course, there was the heel turn, the CM Punk incident, the exit, or at least long suspension from All Elite Wrestling. He then came back and was part of the new version of the Elite, of course, with the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada last year. But the scapegoat since winning the TNT Championship and then losing it to Daniel Garcia at Full Gear has been absent from AEW television. Now, MJF could be the person to once again find a scapegoated lost Jack Perry and bring him back to All Elite Wrestling TV. It looks like when the Young Bucks come back to AEW television, they likely will be baby faces, so it would be a bit, I guess, awkward if Jack Perry came back as a babyface when his character still truly has a lot of heel heat in All Elite Wrestling. That, again, wouldn't make too much sense, would it? So certainly we could see a situation, I think, where Jack Perry comes back to AEW, possibly aligning with MJF once again, a former a pillar, or at least still considered. Maybe, is he a pillar? You can let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. But a pillar, once again, lining up with MJF, that would be someone to try and take down the Death Riders, flanked, of course, by Jon Moxley too. Now, this one does make a lot of sense. That's Hammerstone. Now, Hammerstone actually isn't signed to AEW right now. He's the only name on this list that isn't actually under contract to All Elite Wrestling just yet, but he does share a lot of history with MJF in a faction. Before MJF arrived in AEW, he was in MLW, Major League Wrestling, and he was part of a faction known as the Dynasty. Now, the Dynasty was a professional wrestling faction in Major League Wrestling. It consisted of Hammerstone, Grogan, Gino Mendina, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and Richard Holiday. And in fact, on Dynamite last week, when MJF cut this promo suggesting that maybe he does need a clique of his own, maybe he does need a faction of his own for backup, Hammerstone went on social media, quote tweeted it, and simply said, possibly hinting at a situation where the Dynasty could reunite in AEW. What's the upcoming AEW pay-per-view called at the beginning of April? Oh yes, it's called AEW Dynasty. What a perfect place for Dynasty to reform than at the Dynasty pay-per-view. Now, there have been rumors about Richard Holiday possibly getting involved. When it comes to Hammerstone specifically, we know he's a free agent right now. He was under contract to TNA Wrestling, but in February of 2025, his contract expired. He wrestled his last match at a TNA television taping, losing to TNA World Champion Joe Hendry. So as of right now, he's free to go anywhere, whether that be WWE, back to MLW, to AEW, and with MJF teasing a faction possibly in the future, it would make a lot of sense if Hammerstone indeed did show up and realigned with his former Dynasty stablemate. And finally, this one would be a surprise, wouldn't it? What about Wardlow? You remember him, Wardlow? We haven't seen him in quite some time, have we, on AEW television? No, we haven't. Now, of course, beginning his run in AEW, it was Wardlow with MJF. He was MJF's backup, security guard, heavy, whatever you want to call him. That was the partnership. Now, for a long time, MJF's initial success was with Wardlow behind him and with Wardlow giving him the Dynamite Diamond Ring in matches, getting involved in matches, particularly in his feud with the likes of Cody Rhodes earlier on in his career and others. But as is always the case, when you've got a bodyguard, when you've got muscle backing you up, it always turns sour. And that's exactly what happened in 2022. Of course, at the culmination of the feud with CM Punk on All Elite Wrestling TV, Wardlow turned his back, turned on MJF. It led to a feud that culminated at Double or Nothing in 2022. And many thought this was going to be Wardlow's breakout moment in AEW. didn't turn out to be the case, didn't turn out to happen. Some say it's because MJF was really the center of attention that weekend. Yes, they had a match at Double or Nothing where MJF was absolutely squashed very, very quickly by Wardlow, but the main problem in that match and in the days leading up to that match was MJF. People weren't sure if MJF was walking out of AEW. There were rumors that he was not satisfied with his contract. He wasn't happy with how much he was getting paid versus other contracts in AEW. Eventually, we know that MJF did re-sign with All Elite Wrestling, signed a new contract, but many felt that the issues overshadowed what was meant to be Wardlow's big moment. Now, after that, he did have a couple of TNT Championship runs and some success on AEW television, but in recent years, he's faded away, whether it be because of injury, bad creative, bad booking. He was part of the Undisputed Kingdom for a little bit of time, involved once again with that MJF Adam Cole storyline where Adam Cole was revealed to be the devil and these people were attacking MJF and revealed themselves at World's End back in 2023. But once more, nobody really cared at that point, and we just haven't seen Wardlow for quite some time since then. He's been a 3-time TNT champion, but we just haven't seen him in the longest time. Now, to rebuild his AEW career, possibly, could he once again realign with MJF? The last we'd heard is that Wardlow was possibly dealing with an injury. We don't know how serious it is. We don't know if and when he's going to be back, but could he put everything in the past? Could he rejoin with the person that brought him into AEW? And could they reunite and have, once again, success in AEW? I think that could certainly be a possibility. If they would go in that direction, though, we'll have to wait and see. But Wardlow and MJF reuniting, it would certainly be very, very interesting, wouldn't it? So there you go, guys. Those are some names that could possibly be part of an upcoming MJF faction, if indeed he does decide to form a new faction on AEW TV. What are your thoughts on some of those names? Are there any names there that I've missed out? Are there any names that shouldn't be included? What's the likelihood for some of those names? Let me know your opinions, your hot takes, your reactions to all of it in the comment section below. Be sure to smash the like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. A reminder, you can join the WN365 roster. Click that join button. Links in the video description below. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members-only content, such as Match Rewatch series. In addition to that, we've got gaming that's coming soon, exclusively for the members. That's current games, retro games, WWE SmackDown 1, 2, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, here comes the page, SmackDown vs. Raw, TNA Impact, AEW Fight Forever, WWE 2K25, you name it, we're going to be playing it for members, as well as getting plenty of extra perks. Also, be sure to join us for upcoming watch-alongs and post-shows. We've got AEW Dynasty, we've got Raws, SmackDowns, WrestleMania. It's a great time to subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, we're just over 500 subscribers away from 20,000, which is a massive milestone goal for the channel. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. More countdown videos coming soon, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.